half of the battle in this, and this is something that I learned way too late in life, I think, but half of the battle in everything we do is the personality, right? Like how
Hmm.
you handle problems, how you communicate with people, how you relate to each other. Like all of those things are important because you don't want to be part of a team and have a peer that's really, really freaking good at ZBrush, but he's a
Hmm.
dick, right? Like if he's a douche to talk to and he is just like very obnoxious or very, I don't know, mean or something, it's not a good environment. I'd
Yeah.
rather have someone who's half as good as that person, but who's chill to be with, who's cool to work with, than have someone that's like just a pain. So it's important that you work on your hard skills, which are all of the like softwares and things that we know about the 3D
Yeah.
world, but also the soft skills. Again, like how you communicate, how do you work in team, how do you handle feedback when people are telling you, "Hey, you're wrong, you need to fix this." How do you handle that? Because some people don't know how to handle that.
Hmm.
So it's important that you work on those aspects as well. The easiest thing for us to do, just take your phone, place it outside your room. That's it. You don't need to actively be like not using your phone. You just need to do it one time, and once you set that thing aside and you really like leave it there, then the attention is going to be a lot easier to come by. I'm going to share something here, a little secret of mine.
Okay.
I'm very addicted.
Mm. So I think some of the general fundamentals for 3D and 2D overlap, and this is actually a request from my friend because
Okay.
he's been practicing a bit of 2D and 3D, and he was interested whether which is more worth in terms of, let's say, as you say in business, return over investment. Is it gonna
Hmm.
be 2D art fundamentals, so like drawing forms, etc., or is it gonna be just jumping straight into 3D sculpting? Which one is more worth
That's
it?
a great question, man. That's a great question. And it's so interesting because what I'm gonna say it's gonna be very controversial.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast series X, Y, and Z, where I interview some of the most amazing artists and 3D artists alike. And my today's guest doesn't need much of an introduction, really. But for those who are not aware, he is an amazing 3D artist, a very good teacher, and an extraordinary content creator. Let me introduce to you the man who is always learning and always improving, Abe Leal.
Hi everyone. I'm very very happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation, and yeah, I'm ready to share and answer any questions you guys might have about this 3D journey of mine.
Yeah, of course, I'm very curious. So let me start with the first question. How did you manage to land your first job in 3D?
I actually divide my career into two like stages. I know it sounds very weird, but I had
Hmm.
a stage before going to a an art institute, which in this case, or in my case, was Noman,
Hmm.
and the one before it, right? So, funnily enough, I just took a 3 month course, a 3 month intensive course here in Mexico in a school that was teaching the basics of 3D.
Hmm.
And after I learned those basic skills, I was able to land a job at a local studio that focuses on outsourcing. That was my first sort of like official professional job. I was there for I think like 3 or 4 months, and I met a lot of great people. Some of them I still talk to this day, and it was my first journey into the industry, if you want to call it that way.
Hmm.
However, eventually I realized that my skills were lacking a little bit, and I went back to learning more about this 3D world. And
Hmm.
once I finished graduating that program in at Noman, I was able to land my first freelance work as a character artist for a game that unfortunately did not got released, but it was the first thing. And how did I land it? As I've mentioned before, networking. I was at the right spot in the right moment, the right opportunity. My portfolio was ready. I had some good pieces to show for it, and that was what allowed me to start my journey as a 3D artist.
Hmm. Did you enjoy working in that studio?
Yes, yes. I was with them for probably like a year and probably a little bit more than a year. And it was great. To be honest, it was a great experience. The people there were very, very knowledgeable. They taught me a lot of things, which was great. The reason why the game did not ship was because of other like situations. As you guys know, the industry can be quite complicated in terms of funding, in terms of marketing, in terms of a bunch of other things, right? So even though the prototype was there and we had a nice proof of concept, people were enjoying like the early access things that were being shown, it did not come to a full cycle there.
Hmm. I see. I see. So the networking part was mostly just the people that you met during the that intensive course.
Correct. So, well, the if you're talking about the first time,
Mm-hmm.
that studio at the time was hiring, and as long as you knew how to use Maya and the basics of Photoshop, you were getting hired because they needed a lot of like help. For the
Mm-hmm.
second job, the one after Noman, that one was very interesting because during a class, a teacher brought a speaker, and that speaker said at the end, "Hey, we're working on a game. If you
Mm-hmm.
guys are interested and you have this qualifications, send me an email." And I did, and that's how I got the first job. So again, right
Mm-hmm.
place, right time. It was nothing too crazy, but at the same time,
Right.
coincidences can be quite funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a pretty cool way to get a job, honestly. So, how do you distinguish the lack of motivation between the need to pivot to another project for someone, let's say? Because we all run into burnouts from time to time, and is there a way to somehow decide what was the core issue here?
That's a great question. I definitely understand that we as artists we have this situation where we need to feel motivated. However, I've mentioned before that as a professional artist, especially if you want to be someone who's
Mhm.
working at a studio in the industry on your own projects or whatever, you need to leave motivation outside and start focusing more on discipline, right? On making sure
Mhm.
you are engaged and responsible with the stuff that you need to produce. As you mentioned earlier today, I've been doing content creation for several years now, and one of the
Mhm.
things that I need to be very mindful of is that I cannot stop. I need to be doing videos
Mhm.
every week. I need to be doing shorts every day. I need to be doing live streams. I need to engage with the community because that's part of that like professional like job, if you want to call it that way.
Mhm.
Like you need to
Yeah.
make sure that you are on top of things. And I'm gonna be completely honest. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes there's personal things going on, but I cannot bring those things and that lack of motivation into my day-to-day job. Like I need to be there as fully as I can, and that's a matter of discipline. So if you're asking me about that mindset, I would
Mhm.
recommend everyone to change their mindset and stop worrying about motivation and rather focus on the discipline. Like even if you feel bad, even if you feel tired, even if you feel I don't know, like any of these like ugly
Mhm.
feelings that we get as artists, burnout or whatever,
Mhm.
try to just do something. Another little advice that I have is sometimes you might not have, let's say, the motivation to open ZBrush and start sculpting because you're not feeling like it. And you let's imagine that you have the option to avoid doing it for now because eventually you're gonna have to do it. But
Mhm.
if you
Mhm.
do that, instead of going and wasting your time doom scrolling on TikTok or Reddit or watching whatever videos on YouTube, try to use that time to instead do something adjacent to what you need to do. Maybe gather some more references. Maybe look up a couple of tutorials of things that you're going to be needing in that project eventually. Try to outreach, right? Like ask someone that has done something similar to give you a tip or a little bit of feedback. Like all of those things, even though they're not you specifically working on a sculpture or
Mhm.
whatever, it's still pushing you to get a better result at the end. And it's using your time wisely rather than just wasting it and hoping for that motivation to come back.
That is very good advice, and I agree that one shouldn't really go all in about motivation. It's more about discipline and staying true to what you decided you're gonna do. But yeah, sometimes you have to be careful though when you are looking for reference. I don't know. I look for reference on Pinterest, and I sometimes catch myself like doom scrolling there. So there is a chance you're gonna get distracted. But yeah, that is true.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally get it. And another like little mindset that might help everyone listening is understand that if you don't feel like it, there's probably someone out there that will be doing the work even if they don't
Mhm.
feel like it. And as you guys know, our industry is very competitive. So I understand that we cannot be machines doing 100% output every single day, every single time. Like that's understandable. But we do sometimes fall into this like a victim role of like, oh, no one understands me, or I don't have the motivation, I don't know how to
Mhm.
follow through. And again, I understand that that's a situation, and I encourage everyone to look for any type of help if they're falling into this like very negative spirals, but focusing
Mhm.
a little bit more on the discipline side of things and making sure you have an achievable goal, and the steps to get to that goal are gonna help you immensely on your 3D journey.
Mhm. Yep. 100% once again. Agree with that. So if you have to choose between, if someone has to choose between going to art school or being mentored by a professional, which one would be better for growth?
You're going for the, what's the word, the conflictive questions, the interesting ones.
Yep.
So that's a like that's a great question. I get asked that all the time. I get approached by parents, for instance, when their kids are, getting out of high school and they're thinking about these decisions, like should
Mhm.
they just take courses and workshops and mentorships and do that, or should they enroll in an institution? It really depends, and I hate to give that answer because it's a very sort of like individual factor. Some people are very good at being like self-taught artists. I recently had an amazing artist on my channel, Ethan. He's
Mhm.
from South Africa, and he's a VFX artist, and he's entirely self-taught, and he's got some amazing things. He's currently working at Riot, and at the same time, I have a lot of other like peers who were or went through their traditional, like the school system. I do recommend, though, and I did talk about this recently on one of our live streams. I do recommend that if you're thinking about going to a school, do your research. Really do your research about that school, about who graduated from there, the kind of level that they're teaching, the kind of skills that they have, how up to date are their teachers, right? Because unfortunately, as this has become a more well-known industry, video games are no longer this niche thing or
Mhm.
this or like ostracized things or whatever. Like people now look at video games and they understand video games as a nice professional way of making a living. There's a lot of institutions, a lot of schools that have taken advantage of this, and they either don't understand all of the things that you need to do in order to make good 3D, or they just do the bare minimum, and people are tricked with, again, like false advertising and things like that into going into
Mhm.
an institution, spending 4 years, getting into debt, and then finding out that they don't know the basics of what they should be like or the basics of what they should know as
Mhm.
3D artists. So do your research. Definitely do your research. My advice for younger people, like if they're listening right now, take a course, a simple course. There's a bunch of free ones on YouTube. There's a couple of paid ones that are very like affordable. Just take a course to see if you actually like this thing, because it is a very technical thing. There's a lot of things that are very frustrating about our 3D career, about the softwares and everything. So if you try doing, I'm gonna use the donut as an example, right? The famous
Mhm.
blender donut, and you don't enjoy the process, you're probably not gonna enjoy doing it. You might want to do Optimus Prime or the next, I don't know, Elden Ring or whatever. But again, if you don't
Mhm.
enjoy doing the donut and you realize this is not for me, then it's probably not for you. There are other areas in the game production that you could be a part of: music, concept art, voice acting. I don't know, like there's programming, right? But if you don't enjoy the process of the 3D workflow, then it definitely becomes very challenging.
Yeah, it's true to know the other side of 3D artists' work. Yeah, because as you said, it's not just doing what you like. Let's say it's also doing the boring things, and that is an amazing insight. Um,
Yeah,
mhm.
so something that my teachers told us when we were learning, it's this is a job. At the end of the day, a production artist, it's a job. If you just want to be an artist, if you just want to do this on your free time and enjoy and have fun, that's awesome. And I hope if you can afford to do it, go for it. Like do it. But if you want to do this as a job, it comes with every single other thing that every single other job has. You're gonna have crappy coworkers. You're gonna have bad bosses every now and then. There's gonna be crunch times. There's gonna be times where you're asked to do things that you don't like doing or that are very boring. You're gonna have to deal with the corporations and bureaucracy. Like that stuff, it still happens everywhere. So you need to understand that yes, what we do is very fun. I enjoy it. I love
Mm-hmm.
doing 3D, but it also comes with the traditional stuff that we deal with every single work at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%. Uh, so since we are talking about the topic of being a 3D artist, what would you say, in your experience, was the most annoying part of being a 3D artist?
The most annoying part, that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Um I think for me it's the issues with communication when you're dealing with clients or when you're dealing with art directors, art leads, this kind of stuff, right? Like, because it's very annoying. That's to me the most annoying thing. It's very annoying when you're working on something and you are doing a good job, like objectively, you are doing something that looks
Mm-hmm.
good. And then they come to you and they're like, oh no, I don't like that. Change this, change that, change this other thing. And you're like, dude, why didn't you tell me this before I was doing this? Like, I'm gonna have to do it again, and it's
Yeah.
just annoying. Again, it's part of the job. That's what we're being paid to do, right? But it is quite annoying when the direction is not clear, right? When there is not enough communication, or when people don't really know what they want. I've had this experience, especially as a freelance artist. It happens quite often when you get asked to do something by a client,
Mm-hmm.
and you do it based on their specifications, and it turns out that that's not what they meant, and they now have a different view or a different thing
Yeah.
of what they wanted, and you have to adjust for that. And especially against as a freelancer, when you have to discuss things like extra pay because of the changes and things like that, it becomes
Mm-hmm.
very, very tricky, very complicated to negotiate. So if you're going to be working with a 3D artist, or if you're a 3D artist, one of the things or one of the skills that I would recommend everyone to really work on is making sure you're very clear in communication. Make sure you explain what can be done, what can't be done, the kind of scope that you have with the project, all of these things, and ask questions. One of the best things you can do when you're working for someone is to ask as many questions as you want, even if it seems like you're being like unnecessarily obnoxious. If you don't ask those questions, they will come back later and bite you because you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have to address those unanswered things that you had. So ask questions and be clear in your communications to avoid this very annoying back and forth that we usually deal with in this industry.
Yeah, I believe it's also a universal thing, not only for 3D, but another skill that connects to that would be patience,
Yep,
because
yep,
sometimes
definitely.
you deal with different kinds of people, as you mentioned. Not everyone is as
Exactly.
communicative and so on.
Yeah, and
So
we don't
mhm,
see the world the same way. So
yes,
that's the trick of us as artists. We need to interpret that world and figure out what someone else is thinking and transfer that to a visual medium.
yeah, yeah, that is not an easy task, but mm, I did have a kind of a request or something that I noticed among my friends is
Mhm.
that they oftentimes get distracted and they just then don't have the willpower to say finish a project. It's always easy to start a project, but to pull it until the end, just keep on working on it is a bit more difficult. Um,
Yeah.
is there a uh, secret recipe for becoming a disciplined and hardworking artist, or it's a thing that you're born with, let's say?
No, no, no. You're definitely not born with it. I mean, there's definitely people who are a little bit more focused in that sense. Like they can remain in front of their computers for long periods of time and just
Hmm.
focus on getting the work done. I do feel like, unfortunately, recent things in our society have pushed us in having lower attention spans or smaller attention spans. We want this like instant reward, instant gratification all the time. So one of the things that we need to do is similar to how when you go to the gym and you're training a muscle, you need to train your attention span in this case. And it's I remember like listening to this advice. I don't remember where it was from, but it said that it's sometimes just a matter of having the willpower to say no, right? Because, for instance, if we have our phone with us and we know that we're going to be doom scrolling TikTok or Instagram
Hmm.
or whatever, the easiest thing for us to do, just take your phone, place it outside your room. That's it. You don't need to actively be like not using your phone. You just need to do it one time. And once you set that thing aside and you really like leave it there, then the attention is going to be a lot easier to come by. I'm going to share something here, a little secret of mine.
Okay.
I'm very addicted to chess. I really
Mm.
like playing chess games in my computer. Started learning chess a couple of years ago with the Netflix series, the Queen's Gambit one,
Mhm.
and I've become like I get decent. Like I'm
Mhm.
not a grandmaster or anything, right?
Mhm.
But I know my stuff. I've been playing it for a couple of years now, and I know that if I don't control myself, I can spend 2 3 hours just playing like fast random
Oh.
games, Blitz or Rapid or Bullet, and I just waste a whole morning or a whole afternoon. And especially in my case, I'm in home
Mhm.
office, right? So there's no one behind my back telling me, hey, don't do that. So I need
Yeah.
to be very self disciplined. And it came to a point a couple of years ago when I realized I don't have that self control. So what did I do? I just installed this little like application on my computer that blocks every chess site. So if I try logging into any chess site, it just blocks it. So I cannot access it on my home computer. So the only
Mhm.
moment I can play chess is at night on my phone or something.
Mhm.
And that's again that's me setting boundaries for myself that allow me to remain focused on the task at hand. So if you know that your phone is a distraction, don't bring it with you or keep it outside of your office. If you know that there are certain sites that you go to very frequently and they're distracting you, block them. Block them, create a random password that no one's going to know, and just that's it. Like there's no way you're going to be able to get distracted that way. There's another method that I've shared before. It's called the Pomodoro technique, where you focus
Mhm.
for 25 minutes and then take a 5 minute break. That to me has helped me sometimes,
Mhm.
especially when I need to sort of like get back on track. But eventually you learn to just do the work. But again, it's like a muscle. It's a muscle that you need to exercise. And if you need tools or again like little tricks or tips to do that, go for them. Like anything that helps you be more productive, it's a good investment of your effort. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, that is good advice. I wanted to say, oh my god, I lost the thought.
Don't worry.
But yes, yes, there we go. Okay, it came back. So basically, mm, you should become a bit emotionless for a second to analyze what's really causing that distraction, right? And
Yeah.
it can be a bit
Yeah,
difficult to
we
some people because they just do not even realize, they don't have this conscious thought that, oh wow, I'm getting distracted by my phone. They don't even really put effort into thinking. So this might be a
exactly, exactly.
bit.
You need to
Mhm.
identify your pitfalls, and that's something that it also works for 3D, by the way. For instance, in 3D, you will realize that there are certain things that you struggle a lot with or that you always mess up. I'm gonna give you an
Mhm.
example. In my case, for some reason, every time I'm doing a character, my legs are always short. They're always
Mhm.
short. Like I don't know why it is with my brain, but every time I do a character, female, monster, male, whatever, I always make the legs too short at first. So I already know that. I already know that Abe, my one of my weaknesses is that my legs are always way too short.
Mhm.
So because I am conscious about that, every time I finish like the blocking of the legs, for instance, I always make a conscious decision to measure them and stretch them out a little bit more because I know I'm going to be making them
Mhm.
way too short or way too long sometimes. So I know that that's one of my common pitfalls, right? As artists, we need to identify that, and yes, we need to be very honest. I think one of the most important things is to just be okay with knowing that you can't control that. It's fine. It's
Mhm.
fine to accept that you can't control something. As I mentioned, the chess stuff, I literally came to that conclusion is I cannot control myself. I don't have the capabilities to control myself from endlessly
Mhm.
playing that game because I really like it. So
Mhm.
if I can do that, I need a tool, in this case, this blocker thing on my browser
Mhm.
to help me get outside of that bubble and make sure that I can continue to work. Then later on I can enjoy that. But after I've done the work, not before.
Yeah. Yeah, that is also a good advice. Do it after, not before, because it messes
Yeah.
up your whole brain for the day. So yeah,
Yep, totally.
definitely experienced that way too many times.
Yeah, a lot of my students struggle with things like League of Legends or Valorant. Like those games, they're made to make you like really engage with the content, right? Like everything, the sounds, the sparks, they want you to keep you there.
Mhm.
So if you find that you are a slave to those like contents, block them. Like literally block them. Give yourself some time later in the day to enjoy them, but
Mhm.
don't let them affect your work hours because otherwise you're not going to be able to move forward as a 3D artist.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. my next question is a bit short, but some people probably will
Mhm.
benefit from it. What are your top tips for sculpting human anatomy?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I think for me the biggest break was when I understood the underlying forms of the human body. Like we tend to focus too much on knowing the names of the muscles and knowing how many segments the muscle has and where the veins are going and the arteries and the
Hmm.
shape of the bones. Like, yeah, that's important. It's good information because it's going to inform you on the decisions you're going to be making. But the most important things is understanding the underlying forms. What does the deltoid look like? Oh, it looks like a teardrop shape inverted,
Hmm.
right? Like what does the bicep look like? Oh, it's like an ingot of gold, right? Like this sort of like rectangular shape.
Yeah.
What does the neck look like? Oh, it's this tilted cylinder, right? So if you think about every single part of the body in terms of the basic forms, the basic spheres, cylinders, cubes, all of these things, it's a lot easier to build a nice, believable character that then you can add a lot more detail to. If you've seen my stuff, especially my portfolio on
Hmm.
ArtStation, most of my stuff is like relatively stylized. Like I
Yeah.
don't do hyper realism. Even though I know all of the information, I don't enjoy that part of the process as much. I prefer to keep things simplified, stylized. I like to really showcase the silhouette of the character. That's another important part.
Hmm.
So silhouette, proportions, and forms, which, as you guys probably know if you've seen some of my content, it's everything I talk about when we're talking about the first stage, right? Like the blocking, the primary forms, the secondary forms. It's all that. If you nailed those forms, if you nailed those initial shapes, then everything else becomes a lot easier.
Hmm. Yeah. I think I don't have anything to add to that. I would say the same, if not less. Yeah, it's gonna be
No, that's
silhouette
fine.
forms. Yeah, and then.
Yeah, there's a
Mhm.
great book. There's a great book that I recommend everyone check out. It's a very famous one. It's the one called Anatomy for Sculptures. It's by I don't remember where these guys are from, but I'm pretty sure they're from Europe. And they break down the forms and the shapes of the body into easy to digest, like polygonal figures. It's a very, very good one to understand, again, the underlying silhouettes and the underlying forms. If you master form, then details, shaders, textures, all of that stuff, it's a lot more easy to accomplish.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think something that connects to anatomy is gonna be not going too fast to too dense geometry, because that's another thing
Yes.
that's very, very common with
Yes.
noobs, let's say.
Yeah, no, no, totally. There's this character artist. She is her name is Madeline Scott Spencer. She worked at Weta for a long time, and that's one of
Mhm.
the first books that I got about anatomy. And that was one of her advices is if you're working with Dynamesh or subdivision levels inside of ZBrush, stay at whatever subdivision or Dynamesh level you're at as much as you can. Like push it to the
Mhm.
limit of the current like poly count. And once you are like, okay, this is it. I can't do anything else, and I need more to add more detail. That's when you jump. So jumping too early to higher subdivision levels or to higher poly count is a very very common pitfall for beginner students.
Mhm. Yeah. Mm. So I think some of the general fundamentals for 3D and 2D overlap, and this is actually a request from my friend, because
Okay.
he's been practicing a bit of 2D and 3D, and he was interested whether which is more worth in terms of, let's say, as you say in business, return over investment. Is it
Hmm.
gonna be 2D art fundamentals, so like drawing forms, etc., or is it gonna be just jumping straight into 3D sculpting? Which one is more worth
That's
it?
a great question, man. That's a great question. And it's so interesting because what I'm gonna say is gonna be very controversial. The 2D fundamentals have one of the biggest returns of investment in terms of understanding, right? So if
Mhm.
you learn how to, you draw perspective, shade stuff, create or copy a human body or draw a human body, all of those things are going to make you really, really aware of the things that you need to be looking for in the 3D pieces and eventually into sculpture. However, they're not going to be a great return of investment in terms of getting employed because
Mm.
studios and clients, they want the skills. They want you to be a great 3D artist. If you're a great 3D artist and a great 2D artist, that's awesome for them. But they would rather have a great 3D artist who's not good at 2D, because that's the kind of stuff that you're, well, getting hired to do, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to be a character artist for games, or if you want to do sculptures, you need to learn ZBrush. It's going to be best for you to learn the skills of ZBrush. However, if on your free time or on the side you can still learn a little bit of the 2D stuff, it's definitely going to help you see things in a different way. And that's one of the most important things. I think we have a question coming up about portfolios and things that are very common. That's one of them, where we'll come back to this. But not being able to see things, to have that artistic eye to really analyze elements, is really lacking in a lot of 3D artists. And that's a skill that you learn, like, on the first day when you're learning how to draw in 2D, when you're doing gesture drawing, when you're doing painting, when you're doing color theory. Like, all of those things are things that you learn how to see. Your brain changes and you
Hmm.
analyze things in a completely different way. So is there good ROI on learning 2D art fundamentals? Yes, definitely. But if your main focus is to get a job on the industry, then I would definitely add more time to the 3D
Hmm.
stuff, because that's what's gonna get you hired. Once you're hired, definitely learn more 2D, because it's gonna make you an even better artist.
Hmm. Okay, that's an interesting point of view. So to summarize, you would say first learn 3D software and just the very basics, and then build up that fundamentals with 2D.
Exactly. Yeah. So focus on learning. If you want to be part of the 3D
Hmm.
industry, focus
Hmm.
on learning 3D, because
Hmm.
those are the skills that are gonna be they're gonna be looking in you. But as you are learning 3D, use 2D as this sort of like add-on, right? Or this DLC for yourself,
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
you use it to further understand all of the things that we're using in 3D. Because every single skill that you learn in 2D will make you a better 3D artist. I'm actually like currently taking a class about like concept art and design, and I'm learning how to draw again. I'm like practicing in my design principles and everything, and it feels like I'm a noob again, like I'm a complete beginner, because that's an area that I have not explored as much. But just by this like few couple of classes that I've taken, they've made
Hmm.
me like realize a lot of things that I was missing from the 3D side of things. So it's a really, really good way to broaden your horizon in terms of again, like visual understanding and artistic understanding of the things that we do.
Hmm. Yeah, and thanks for reminding about the question. I think I missed it, the first one. Um,
Yeah, no, don't worry.
so you have reviewed a bunch of artworks of 3D artists
Yes.
and their portfolios. So what would you say is the most common mistake, the one that hinders the growth the most?
I'm actually going to expand this a little bit, because I think there's three main things that I see very, very commonly in portfolios.
Hmm.
I'm going to answer the question first. The one mistake that hinders everyone is what we just mentioned: the lack of understanding of what we see as artists and how to transfer that into a 3D piece. Lack of proportions, lack of attention to detail, lack of silhouette, right? Like they see the concept piece and they transfer that to a 3D piece, and they're missing very important things, very important relationships, very important like elements. I call this the 5 layers of information. You need to extract 5 layers of information from any concept piece in order to make it a great 3D piece. That's silhouette, form, lights and shadows. I believe it was like layers or something, and then topology, something like that. I have a video about
Hmm.
that in case you guys want to check it out on my YouTube channel. But I called them the 5 layers of information. And as an artist, you need to be able to see those layers. And the concept artist is not going to point them out. Like, there's not going to be a big red arrow pointing and saying,
Hmm.
"Hey, this is the silhouette," or "This is the form." No, no, no. It's your responsibility as a 3D artist to see the image, the 2D drawing or the 2D concept, and find or figure out how that information is living on that image, and of course
Hmm.
transfer it to the 3D piece. So that it's the development of the artistic eye that allows you to see those elements, the elements that make the piece unique, that gives the piece or the element its soul.
Hmm.
I know it sounds very philosophical, but it's important to understand that it's that, like, there are elements that are put in the 2D drawing or on the concept art that you need to extract from them. And if
Hmm.
you are able to do that, then your piece is going to be successful. If not, it's just going to look like a bad copy. So that's the number one mistake.
Hmm.
There's another one that is a little bit more technical.
Hmm.
People tend to just show tools, right? Like the portfolios are just, hey, look at me. I know how to sculpt. This is a sculpt. I know how to model.
Mhm.
This is my model. I know how to texture. This is my texture. But they
Mhm.
forget to put in the artistic thought behind us. Like, yes, I understand that you know how to use ZBrush or Maya or Substance Painter, but show me how you use those tools to create something that's more unique, something that's more interesting, something that tells a story. At the end of the
Mhm.
day, we're storytellers, right? Like I
Yeah.
tell this all the time. You need to create an emotional connection with your audience with every single piece. It doesn't need to be this deep connection. Sometimes just a cool factor or like a wow factor. People look at the piece and they're like, oh, this is cool. Oh, I like this. That's more than enough. But if they're just see your piece, and as I've seen thousands of times on portfolio reviews, it's just a barrel or it's
Mhm.
just a box, a crate. There's nothing there. If the textures are just bland and without any like blood or something, I don't know. Like there's so many
Mhm.
things to make even a simple asset much more interesting, and that part is missing in a lot of portfolios. And finally, like following this point that I just mentioned, is the lack of complexity. People, because of fear, because of lack of discipline, because
Mhm.
of lack of skills, they tend to go with very simple things: a cup of tea, a desk, a door, a barrel. Right?
Mhm.
You're not going to get hired to do that. Like if that's your whole portfolio, I'm sorry to say this, and I'm sorry if this is like a very hard pill to swallow, but it's not enough. Like our industry is so competitive right now that you need to show that you have the skills to do things that no one else can. Because at this point, I can just hire anyone in the world and pay them very, very little, unfortunately, to make a
Mhm.
barrel. Why would I bring you into my studio to help me do a barrel if I can just get one for $2, right? No,
Mhm.
I'm gonna bring you into the studio because I want you to do a full cabin, or I want you to do a Western wagon, right? Like I want you to do something that's a lot more complex that I know not everyone can do. Like it's important that the complexity of our portfolio shows, yes, the technical skills that we have, but also the value that you can bring as an
Mhm.
artist to the table, right? Like you can provide or you can create things that very few people can. I'm not asking you to be a part of the 1% that's doing like all of the
Mhm.
most amazing things. No, no, no. Like
Mhm.
even if you're just on the high tiers of the percentage there, that's more than enough. But you do need to show that you have a good mastery of the tools and that you can do things that very few people can. That's gonna guarantee that you get hired a lot more easily.
I love how you're just not listing things that someone should be able to do, but also the qualities that you need to represent with yourself, and also, you know,
Yes.
the character of the person, which is also
Yes.
gonna be valued. Mm? I
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, no, the half of the battle in this, and this is something that I learned way too late in life, I think, but half of the battle in everything we do is the personality, right? Like how you
Mhm.
handle problems, how you communicate with people, how you relate to each other. Like all of those things are important because you don't want to be part of a team and have a peer that's really, really freaking good at ZBrush, but he's a dick,
Mhm.
right? Like if he's a douche to talk to and he is just like very obnoxious or very, I don't know, mean or something, it's not a good environment. I'd rather
Yeah.
have someone who's half as good as that person, but who's chill to be with, who's cool to work with, than have someone that's like just a pain. So it's important that you work on your hard skills, which are all of the like softwares and things that we know about the 3D world,
Yeah.
but also the soft skills. Again, like how you communicate, how do you work in team, how do you handle feedback when people are telling you, hey, you're wrong, you need to fix this. How do you handle that? Because some people don't know how to handle that. So
Mhm.
it's important that you work on those aspects as well.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's we cannot ignore the elephant in the room, because AI is becoming pretty scary
Yes.
for like people who want to get into 3D. And
Yes.
what is your advice on using AI as a 3D artist?
That's a great question. It's another one of this conflicting topics, right?
Mhm.
So the first thing I'm going to say is people should stop being scared about AI. This has been said by a lot of great people out there. Your job's not going to be replaced by AI. Your job's going to be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI. That's the gist of it, right? So
Yeah.
who is going to take the jobs? If you want to think about that, it's going to be an artist that knows how to use AI for his own purposes. AI is definitely going to be part of pipelines. I am definitely seeing a resistance, and that's good. I like it
Mhm.
about people not wanting to see AI in their games, especially generative AI. But you're going to be
Mhm.
using AI. I use ChatGPT all the time. I use Gemini all the time to
Mhm.
ask for scripting questions or to solve a or troubleshoot an issue that I'm having with the software to come up with a easier way to do a step that I'm doing repeatedly. Right. So
Mhm.
that's, I would say, a good use of AI. I do think, unfortunately, and I'm not going to be part of it, but I know a lot of the studios will. AI will be used to create assets. There's a lot of like 3D AIs right now that can create assets with textures and
Mhm.
everything. Most of them don't look great right now, or they look very basic, very boring. But I'm pretty sure that's going to improve in the next couple of years, and eventually
Yeah.
there's going to be productions that are going to be using it. But again, we come back to the same thing I just talked about. They're only going to be able to produce the basic stuff: barrels, tables, planks, cars, things like that. Things that are the boring things of the 3D world.
Mhm.
People, things that not everyone wants to do. You're still going to need to know how to fix them if there's issues, right? You still need to know
Mhm.
about topology, textures, sculpting, all that kind of stuff. But I really hope that the cool things, the big characters, the big set pieces, the big worlds, they're still going to be in the hands of artists that know what they're doing. Now, I can tell you this. I recently had a client that approached me and she was doing AI, 3D AI stuff, and she wanted to create something. She tried
Mhm.
for like 2 months, paid for I don't know how many different licenses to try to get what she wanted. And I was able to do that in 6 hours, like what she was looking for, right?
Mhm.
Why? Because it's very difficult to work with a technology that's always recreating or reinventing things with every single prompt, right?
Mhm.
So it's AI is definitely a tool that's not going to go away. We need to stop thinking about that. And instead of feeling overwhelmed or feeling scared about them, just focus on your art. Just focus on improving. Use AI if you need it as part of your process, but don't let it take the creative decisions or the creative choices away from you. Make sure you're still the one in control. Use it again as what it is, a tool. Don't use it to cheat or to
Mhm.
get shortcuts, because those shortcuts are eventually going to be weaknesses in your own artistic growth. It's similar to what we talked about earlier. It's like a muscle. If you use AI for everything in 3D, like if you always use AI to generate, I don't know, concept pieces to create your own elements, you're not developing your like mental muscle of coming up with your own original ideas, and you're depending on an AI to do that for you. So you don't want that. You want to be in control of those muscles, of those creative muscles.
Mhm.
In order to do that, you need to exercise those muscles. You need to do it. Again, repetitive tasks, I don't care. Like if there was
Mhm.
an AI that's going to help me to, I don't know, export all of my files and do the bakes automatically so that I can just focus on texturing, that would be
Yeah.
great. Like that's going to save me a lot of time and I can just focus on the creative side of things. But I'm not going to let an AI do the creation. I'm not going to let the AI do the texturing or the sculpting. I want to be in control of that so that I can get all of those things that we talked about, the 5 layers of information,
Mhm.
into the element to make sure that it looks the best it can.
Mm. If you tell AI to work out for you, you're not gonna gain muscle, basically.
Exactly. It's the exact same thing. Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I can ask an AI to give me an exercise plan with everything like printed out for me, but if I don't do it, if I don't follow it up, then
Yes.
like nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, and my last question is, so you've been doing 3D for a little while now,
Yes.
and the doubts about your capabilities and skills as a 3D artist, do they ever go away?
No. Never. That's something that it's a friend. It's a friend that you need to learn to live with. It's I call it the shadow, right?
Mhm.
Because you always have that little voice inside your head telling you, "Oh, you're not good enough," or "You're missing this," or "You're not as good as this other guy," or "You haven't achieved what this other person has achieved so far." That's something that unfortunately we as humans have, right? Like we compare each other
Mhm.
like quite frequently. So it's not something that goes away. However, there's something very important about this, and that's the fact that that voice can only be heard by you. So no one else thinks that about you. Like you are the only one that has all of the tools and all of the information to think that about you. Everyone else is just seeing like your best stuff, like in your portfolio or in your socials or whatever. So
Mhm.
you need to understand that yes, there will always be doubts about your skill, and the way to get rid of that is by having a mindset, which is the motto for our channel, right? Always
Mhm.
learning, always improving. Like the moment I realized that, and this was very early in my career, I was like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care how good someone else is. As long as every single day I'm a little bit better than the day before, then I'm gonna be able to stand proud and straight and say, hey, I'm a 3D artist. I'm learning. I'm a professional one. I'm making money. I'm creating stuff, but that doesn't mean that I've stopped learning. I will always continue to learn, and I will probably continue to learn all the way till I die. Right.
Mhm.
So it is very. It's something that we artists struggle quite a bit with. I think every other career does as well.
Mhm.
Doctors, lawyers, everyone. But that sort of like imposter syndrome of feeling like you don't belong or you're not good enough. It's unfortunately very common.
Mhm.
Another thing you can do is be objective and look at your work, look at your work and be like, hey, like not everyone can do this. I know there's a lot of people that can do it, but not everyone in the world can do it, right? So that already puts you ahead of a lot of people. Now if you see that there's things that can be improved,
Mhm.
awesome. Write those down, figure out what skills you need to develop, and start learning about those skills. And eventually, you're going to get better at that. Don't compare yourself to others. That's one of the worst things you can do.
Mhm.
You only should compare yourself to yourself because you never know what someone else is dealing with, right? Like you might see a very famous artist out there with an amazing portfolio, and in their personal life, they might be feeling very sad, very lonely or something. And maybe you don't. Maybe you have an amazing family, an amazing group of friends, and you're
Mhm.
not as good as an artist as he is. Well,
Mhm.
everyone has good things and bad things in their life, right? So don't compare yourself to others. And even and use this information, like this doubt that we have, we need to use that doubt as the fuel to allow us to pursue the answers, right? If you're questioning your skills, look for the answers, improve your skills so that you feel that doubt getting smaller and smaller every time. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a road that never ends. It's a continuous fight that we just need to be very conscious about and understand that it's our own sort of like demons and our own shadows trying to bring us down. We need to fight them, and we need to be
Mhm.
mentally prepared, mentally disciplined, as we said,
Mhm.
to really focus on improving every single day.
Mm. Yeah, I think another thing to do could be just embrace the fact that the voice is gonna keep on
Yeah.
keep on telling you that, oh, you messed up there, you did this there.
And I mean, you know this because you also create content. It's not only going to be the boys. Like sometimes you're going to have trolls. There's going to be people out there that will tell you to your face. It's like, I don't like you. I don't like your
Mhm.
stuff. You suck. You shouldn't be doing this. What I tell to those people, I first of all, I don't even answer to those people, but what I think to myself when I see those kind of
Mhm.
messages is just, hey man, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm just gonna keep doing it. So if you feel like I shouldn't be doing it, well, go and do your own stuff, right? So it's one of those things where you do need to take a mindset of not caring, of just not giving a, like
Mhm.
I don't care. I'm not gonna eat listen. I'm just gonna focus on doing my thing. I'm just gonna stay on my lane. I'm just gonna stay on my journey, and I'm gonna enjoy this process of learning and improving.
Mhm. Yes, thank you so much. You gave amazing answers, and I loved every single one of your answers. Yeah, thank you.
You're
um,
welcome, my friend. You're welcome. Happy to help.
yeah, now let's switch to the next phase of the interview, which is
Yeah.
the rapid fire question challenge. So, for those
Okay.
who
Okay.
are not aware, it's basically challenge where my guests have to sculpt a dinosaur head in 10 minutes. While if that wasn't hard enough, they have to answer my questions. So yeah, let's begin. Okay. So, Wacom tablet or screen display tablet?
Oh, that's a great question. If you can afford, a screen display is really, really good because it allows you to actually see directly what you're doing. And in recent years, they've become quite affordable, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
There's brands such as Huion, which is the one that I use, or XP Pen that I know also have the some really nice results. So yeah, if you can afford it, go for it. But normal tablets, like non-pen display tablets, have absolutely nothing wrong with them. If
Mm-hmm.
that's where you want to start, that's perfectly fine too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those tablets without display, they can be a bit difficult at first because you need to get your what do you call it, kind of understandment what you're doing on the screen.
Yeah, the eye hand coordination,
Exactly,
definitely.
yes, the coordination. Best shortcut key in Maya.
Control S to save before it crashes.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
That's like a universal thing, I believe.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
How many monitors is enough?
I work with two. There was a time where I worked with three, and I found that to be a little bit distracting actually, because I would always have like YouTube or like a
Mm-hmm.
podcast or a movie on the other one, and it distracted me. So now I just work with two,
Mm-hmm.
and that's usually enough.
Okay. Um, Dark mode or light mode for
Dark
softwares?
mode
Yep,
every single day,
all the way.
every single day. Yeah.
Subdivision modeling or booleans?
Ooh, that's a great question. Oh man, if you want to have clean elements, of course, subdivision. But I've
Mm-hmm.
been a really, really big fan of booleans in the last couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
especially because I just focus on creating like a really nice high poly. And if I can create that high poly quickly, booleans are the way to go. So I really like using booleans. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think they're as like harmful or damaging as a lot of people tend to think.
Yep, yep. Um, Best plugin or add-on you've ever used?
For what software? Is there a specific software?
No, no.
For any software, best plugin or add-on. Recently I've been doing a little bit of like, well, not a little bit, quite a bit of haircut stuff inside
Mm-hmm.
of Maya, and there's an amazing plugin for placing the haircuts called GS Curve Tools.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy that develops it, George something, Sardapsky or something like
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
and that plugin is just like a game changer to placing haircuts, which tends to be one of the most complicated things
Mm-hmm.
when doing hair.
Perfect timing because I am losing my mind or on haircuts as well right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's like $20 on ArtStation, and it's like totally worth it. I've mentioned this before. If I ever go into a studio and they don't have that plugin, I'll sacrifice part of my payroll just to buy it and use it because I
Wow.
cannot see myself doing haircuts in any other way. Yeah, it's that good.
Damn. Okay. Characters or environments? Which one you prefer to create?
Characters have always been my personal favorite, but I love a good environment.
Yeah, especially one that complements the character. It's
Yeah, of course.
amazing. Um, Hard surface or organic models?
I personally prefer organic stuff. I've been more a fan of sculpting and creating organic elements rather than hard surface.
hmm Favorite character that you've sculpted?
Oh, from my portfolio,
Just overall.
there.
hmm
Oh man, sculpted. In terms of sculpting, the Oni character. I actually have it right here as a 3D print. That was such a fun sculpt to work on. And a lot of people have like really benefited from that one because
hmm
that was one of the first tutorials that we did on this new brand. So that one I really enjoyed. Yeah, because it has all the props and it's this very
hmm
muscly, beefy guy. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
Very
it
fun to work with.
definitely looks badass. Okay, most difficult thing to model.
Ooh, that's a great question. Hair is definitely tricky to model.
hmm
Like to get like hair to look good is can be quite tricky.
hmm
Um, what else? Female anatomy is another one. Like if you want to be a character artist, you definitely should start like practicing female anatomy because female anatomy tends to be a little bit softer, a little bit more subtle than male anatomy. So it's one of those things that requires a lot more patience to get right.
Yep, yeah, that's true. Um, okay, speed sculpt or long term project.
I really like speed sculpts, and however, I feel that for portfolio you definitely need to focus on longer like
hmm
stuff projects. But they like my content shorts and all that kind of stuff that I do a lot of speed sculpt and speed model and speed texturing and everything. So I really enjoy that fast approach to things.
So this challenge is like a perfect fit for you.
Yep.
This is ultra speed sculpt. Um,
Yeah.
do you recall what was the first thing that you have ever modeled?
Yes, I did a bathroom sink. So the
Hmm.
first thing that I ever modeled, I was following a Cinema 4D tutorial
hmm
because I didn't have Maya back then, and they told me that was what I had to learn. This was before I took the intensive course here in
hmm
Mexico, and I just downloaded Cinema 4D and I did like an online tutorial doing like a faucet. That
Hmm.
was like the very first model.
Interesting. S- Most of the people is like some badass monster, but yeah, some people just go
No,
for
no, I did like that
things.
faucet.
Faucet, yeah. Um, Favorite color palette.
Favorite color palette? Cool colors. I love using blues, greens, teals.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, like this guy with the blue eyes right there. That's very very cool. Like that. That's the kind of stuff that I tend to gravitate towards.
Well, that's an interesting coincidence. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Green is my favorite color. So
mhm.
anything close to it, I like.
uh, what's the best source for references?
ArtStation is usually really good, especially if you want to grab a concept for your next like portfolio piece. ArtStation tends to be quite
Mm-hmm.
nice. Pinterest used to be very good. Unfortunately, nowadays there's a lot of like AI stuff
Mm-hmm.
in it, and I'm not sure if it's easy to filter out or not. But Pinterest was good. Google Images, and you know what? Museums are really, really, really good because a lot of
Mm.
museums online, like the London or the British Museum, the New York Museum, they have a lot of their collections photographed from multiple angles, and you can really
Oh.
study a lot of like the things. So yeah, museum sites, some of them, not all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of like really like historically accurate things that
Mm-hmm.
you can learn from.
No, that is interesting. I never thought about it this way. But yeah, ArtStation sometimes has those Marmoset viewer
Yep.
multimedia. That's also pretty similar. Yeah, that's pretty good. Um, okay, I think I know answer to this one. Hand painted textures or procedural textures? Procedural.
Lately, I've been doing a lot of hand painted stuff, and I usually gravitate towards that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
This to the side.
sketching on paper first or just jumping into a ZBrush right away?
Since I'm not like an illustrator, I don't do a lot of like illustration. I sometimes just jump straight into ZBrush.
Mm-hmm. Uh, mm, best game art you've seen recently?
Ooh, Expedition 33 was really good in terms of art direction. Like the models themselves were not. No, they were actually quite breathtaking, to be honest. Like they had some really really nice things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I like that one was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Which one other one was good? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to say that one because I really haven't seen anything
Mm-hmm.
like extremely like breathtaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's go with that one.
yeah, that is a solid game, I would say. Um,
Yeah.
are you rather a minimalist or guy that does a bunch of details for their models?
No, I tend to be a lot more minimalist. Definitely more minimalist.
Mm-hmm. Uh, what makes a character feel alive?
Gesture is one of the most important things. Making sure that there's enough dynamism so that the character doesn't look like stiff, like there's something underneath. And form is again is how we perceive the things from within the character, like the bones and the muscles and all of these things, how they push through the surface. That really really helps.
Mm-hmm. Mm, okay, portfolio quality or quantity?
Quality all the time. Like I prefer to see a portfolio with three pieces that are freaking amazing than to see a portfolio with like
Just
20 pieces and all of them are like shit.
just 20 barrels.
Yeah, exactly, 20 barrels. Yeah.
um, what site is gonna be better to show off your portfolio? Is it ArtStation or Behance? Or Behance,
Our
I would say.
station,
Hmm.
especially for games, that's like the standard.
Okay, there we go. The is
Time is up.
time is up. Yes, exactly. I was quite
There we
intrigued
go.
that you went for the alphas.
I just wanted to add a little bit more detail because it's a very soft character. Like this character has a very
Hmm.
subtle silhouette, right? Like it's not
Hmm.
like the ridges are not like super pronounced or anything.
Yep.
So I went to add just a couple of extra details. But it's a cool character.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I love how it turned out. It's actually like, it's 10 minutes. I'm not expecting crazy
Yeah. It's just the
results,
basic
but
form.
you've
And
captured
that's
it.
another thing. Like if I can add something to our conversation,
Hmm.
patience is one of those skills that has been missing quite a bit in the last couple of generations. and I'm including my generation, we tend to be very impatient,
Mhm.
and we need to understand if I want to get or this character to this level right here, it's gonna take me 2 days, maybe, or 3 days. Like it's gonna
Mhm.
be 20 hours of work to really, really get every single detail, every single element, and we tend to think that this could be done in just 10 minutes when in
Mhm.
reality, well, no, it's not going to be possible. So we can get very close, we can get a nice idea, a nice approximation, so that we get the green flag to keep going
Mhm.
forward. But yeah, just if you're starting in this journey, or if you're already part of this 3D journey, be patient. Be patient with yourself, be patient with things, and just focus on doing things in the best possible way you can.
That's an amazing point to end the interview. Once again, thank you so much for agreeing, being here, and giving amazing answers. I really appreciate that. And yeah, keep on creating inspiring stuff, man.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I've really enjoyed it as well. Thank you for having me here. And yeah, if anyone wants to know a little bit more about the stuff that I have, you can of course check my YouTube channel, Abe Leal 3D, and
Hmm.
there's a bunch of information there for everyone to keep learning and keep improving.
Hmm. Yeah, and now it's time for my advertisement. If you want, you can
Go
check
for it.
another episode that will pop up here. And I also have another channel where I sculpt dinos. If you're into that, go ahead and check it out. All right, guys. Bye. See you.